Take one.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me. Today I wanted to talk about the huge update, or rather the leak, for Devil May Cry 5. This is completely separate from the previous video that I had made. It's an extension on that. So before we get started, I do want to mention that this is from ResetEra.com, posted by Son of Sparta, and we do have a disclaimer at the beginning of the post. This is posted by an administrator by the name, not sure if I'm going to butcher the name, but ZHugeEX, and he mentions that the OP approached him asking to post this information on Reset Era, and we found enough reason to allow it. We'd like to make it clear that this is not an endorsement. The staff cannot verify that all the contents of this leak are accurate. The OP has accepted full responsibility for posting this material, and if it turns out to be a hoax, they have agreed to take a permanent ban. So as we all know, nothing is official until it's official. This is a leak from, I have no idea who this guy really is. I believe this is the same guy who had posted the previous leak, and it did have some gems in it, so we'll see how this turns out in a couple of months when and if Devil May Cry 5 is announced. So going further, I'm going to go ahead and begin reading exactly what Son of Sparta, the guy who leaked this information, says in his post. Greetings everyone. I am making this post today not as a sole person, but as part of a community. For quite some while, we, the Devil May Cry community, have been aware of the existence of a new DMC game. After reading that Hideki Itsuno plans to unveil his secret project this year, we waited diligently to see what the project was, even though we knew full and well what it actually was. We waited through E3, TGS, Paris Games, and now we are in late November 2017 with no information about Itsuno's project. We endured through multiple apologies on his part, and we do not in any way blame Itsuno for the current situation. So, not exactly sure what he means by that. I guess at some point there was supposed to be a unveiling of a new game by Hideki, and it's been postponed, or maybe people just had their hopes up and he just kept apologizing for keeping everyone waiting. Now going further, it says that the original plan was to leak this document after PSX, PlayStation Experience, Capcom Cup, but details of this document started to spread like wildfire, and it was only a matter of time before it got posted in less savory places without context, so we are leaking this earlier than anticipated. Now, Hideki Itsuno's secret project for Capcom is the sequel to the original Devil May Cry series, the 5th installment. Internally, it appears to be called Devil May Cry V, the Roman numeral 45. Instead of using the standard numeric system of the previous games, think of Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4 to the Metal Gear Solid V, 5 once again. So, to continue on, let's go ahead and read the next iteration, or rather the next part of this post, release date and production. So the game is slated to release sometime in the fiscal calendar year of 2019. That means sometime between April 2018 and March 2019. The original plan was to release it in November 2018, but the date might have been pushed back to early 2019. If that's the case, that sucks, but I'd rather have a completely finished game that turns out to be good than a rushed game that turns out to be crappy. Continuing on, originally Devil May Cry 5 was intended to be announced at PSX, but after receiving feedback on their E3 press conference, Sony decided to scale back on PSX and instead scale up E3 2018. DMC5 was an unfortunate casualty of this choice, and thus it's unlikely that DMC5 gets officially revealed in 2017. Now that is a bummer, because in the previous leak it did mention that at PSX it did have a chance to be unveiled there. It did not say that it definitely would be. It said that it would have a chance to be unveiled there, and if not, then it would be revealed sometime early next year. Moving on, there will be a demo for the game sometime before release, so that's always good to hear. The game has been in development for 2 years as of today, when it was posted, which was November 26th, at least on my end. And when it releases, it will have been in development for 3 years at least. That is actually the highest time a DMC game has been in full production for. Pre-production started as early as 2015, around the time that DMC 4 Special Edition finished releasing. There have been no development hiccups, and as stated, development has been, in fact, been progressing smoothly. So that's good to hear. They don't seem to be running into any problems, and they're getting to where they want to be. There is some form of PlayStation exclusivity involved. Sony is paying for some of the funding for the game, but the extent of it is not known. Could be completely PS4 exclusive, console exclusive, or timed exclusive. If the game is announced publicly, then it will be at a Sony event, which is why many people thought that it was going to be at PSX. So knowing Sony in the way that I've seen them do previous exclusive deals, I'm going to assume that Devil May Cry 5 would, if this is true, would probably be exclusively on, the PlayStation. And if not only for the PlayStation, then it would be on the PlayStation and the computer probably. They also mentioned that the trailer has been ready for a while now. The initial trailer is 1 minute and 50 seconds long. They may add new cuts to the trailer to make an extended version, since some time has passed from when it was made. It is mostly focused on story, characters, and cutscenes. A city-like setting is shown in the trailer, not that different from Fortuna City in Devil May Cry 4. Now, that is a bummer. If a trailer is finished, it would be kind of cool if we were able to see it, even though the game is not going to be out for a while. But I'm going to assume this is kind of like a fail-safe, just in case maybe the game does get panned. Maybe it goes into the development hell. I'm not sure, but I mean, Kingdom Hearts has been in development for, I don't know, what, 10 years? Same thing with Final Fantasy 15, and I think we can wait a little longer if it does get backed up. But anyway, continuing on, the overall game is supposed to be ambitious for a DMC title with a broader appeal. Kind of sounds like they're going to streamline things when they say it like that, or when as exposed is what I'm saying. The longest cutscene runtime of any DMC game yet. So I'm going to guess that this is heavy story focused maybe? DMC isn't really a game that has the best of stories. It's kind of just a story that's there. It's not terrible, but it's just there. But I guess it's always good to hear that they're going to go for maybe a little more of a cinematic sense. Now moving on, it's going into the development team. Honestly, I am not too big into knowing who actually works on these games, so I'm just going to run through it, and for anyone that actually has information on this, feel free to post a comment, let me know the importance of these people, and hopefully next time when I do cover Devil May Cry, I'll be able to give a little more insight on why they're so important. So starting off, Itsino's team that worked on previous Devil May Cry games and Dragon's Dogma is working on Devil May Cry. Yuji Shimomura is returning as the cutscene director for Devil May Cry 5. He worked on Devil May Cry 3, Devil May Cry 4, and the Bayonetta cutscenes. Ruben Langdon is reprising his role as Dante, so obviously that's the voice actor for Dante. Johnny Young Bosch is reprising his role as Nero, so once again, this is the voice actor for Nero. Dan Southworth is reprising his role as Virgil. Once again, the voice actor for Virgil is coming back on board. No word on the actresses who played Triss and Lady if they will be returning. Anya Fury is helping with the soundtrack. She did the song for Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition's launch trailer. Once again, I'm not too big of a staff guy. I'm not too familiar with who actually worked on the games. I just know that I believe the original game was created by Hideki Kamiya. And from there, I really don't know anything else. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip on to the next part. Characters and story. Now it does mention that there are going to be potentially big spoilers, so if this leak does turn out to be true, and this information does turn out to be accurate, if you don't want to spoil that experience for yourself, go ahead and back out. I'll give you 5 seconds. you have been warned. So, starting off, Devil May Cry 5 picks up the story after Devil May Cry 4. Not too big of a surprise, so it's a sequel. More than one playable character in the game, Dante is for sure playable and Nero is possible as well. Up to 3 playable characters have been suggested for now. So in the previous leak it did mention that there would be 3 playable characters, those three being Dante, Virgil, and Nero. So if there are 3 playable characters, it doesn't hurt to have 3 of the series' strongest, if not the strongest, members be those 3 playable characters. So going further, this is the most serious Dante has been, a new side of Dante, of course not counting Devil May Cry 2. Dante still plays with his enemies and has his usual over-the-top flair, but this game is going to be more personal for him. So, not really sure what they mean by that. I know Dante, maybe it's Dante from Devil May Cry 1. Dante was playful in Devil May Cry 1, but he wasn't as over-the-top as he was in Devil May Cry 3. And Devil May Cry 2, I don't remember too much. I only played it once. Wasn't too good of a game, and I never went back, so I don't really have memories of that Devil May Cry. So I'm going to assume that maybe it's going to be similar to Devil May Cry 1, which, I mean, it's not bad, but hopefully he does keep that over-the-top flair where it doesn't make the game, you know, boring and more bland, I guess I should say. A third character is expected to be playable as well, said to be very powerful, may or may not be brand new to the series. So once again, they're mentioning the third character, but it seems like they have no idea who the third character would be. No word on whether Verge was playable or not. He will be returning. All those specifics on how he is returning from his death in DMC1 are unknown. So if you haven't played Devil May Cry 1, just to do a quick recap, Virgil, I apologize. Virgil was defeated in Devil May Cry 1 by Dante. He was Nilo Angelo in that game. Previous to that, in Devil May Cry 3, I believe he spent his time trying to fight Mundus, and, you know, he got turned into the Nilo Angelo. Continuing on, Triss has a prominent role to play in Devil May Cry 5, but no word on whether she is playable or not. That's a bit interesting because we haven't seen Triss since Devil May Cry 1. So I wonder what type of role is she going to play. Is she going to be Dante's sidekick, as they, you know, hinted at the end of Devil May Cry 1? Is she, what is she? What exactly is she going to do? There will be a sequence where Nero and Virgil have a confrontation, confirming their relationship. Nero is in fact Virgil's son, as stated in the Devil May Cry 3142 art book. Now that's interesting. So they've actually already confirmed the relationship between Nero and Virgil. So I guess that is canon to the lore now. And it is cool that they will have a confrontation in which I guess they speak on their relationship, or maybe it's Virgil who comes to him, or maybe Nero remembers him as his father. Who knows? That is something interesting, and I can't wait to see it if that does turn out to happen. Characters switch during key story points in the game. So this has been done before. If you ever played a game with multiple protagonists, then you already know at different points the character can change. Similar to Sonic Adventure 2, once you get to a certain part of the story, I guess they want to show you what these characters are up to, opposed to others. Going further, the Prince of Darkness is featured as the main antagonist of the story. Prince of Darkness title normally refers to Mundus, so it might indicate his return, but that title may have transferred to another character. That would be interesting, I guess. If I'm not mistaken, we did defeat Mundus in Devil May Cry 1. I'm pretty sure he was obliterated. So to see him return, I want to know why he returned. Maybe he has some, you know, omnipotent power where he can't die. He just gets reincarnated into another body, perhaps. Or rather, another entity, because I don't think he actually had a body. He just encompassed whatever body he wanted to. Devil May Cry 5 might be the end of the Sons of Sparta storyline. So, pretty much what that hints at is that someone else is going to take up the torch. I'm going to assume that would be Nero, which would make sense if they're going to include all 3, Dante, Nero, and Virgil in the game. Nero would probably take on the mantle, and Devil May Cry 5, or rather, the Devil May Cry series proceeding from here will feature Nero or perhaps a brand new character. Now, going further, this is the last part of the leak. It is referring to the gameplay and the systems. So a hard lock-on is standard. That's it. That's actually pretty good. I think a hard lock-on was first introduced in... I'm not sure. Was it Devil May Cry 4? Did Devil May Cry 4 have a lock-on? I know the only time Dante ever truly locked on, I think, was with his guns? I'm not sure. I don't remember, but pretty much that is good to hear that there is a lock-on feature. The console is targeted for 60 frames per second like the previous DMC games. Once again, that is actually great. 60 frames per second has been buttery smooth, and we do need those extra 30 frames so that we are not, it makes for, in those crucial moments where if you're dealing with multiple enemies, it can make a difference whether you live or die, truthfully. Level design is more open than previous DMC games, but not going into Souls or open world territory of level design. Movement outside of combat has been streamlined to match the open nature of the game. The structure is more open to make the experience more smooth. Immersion is important to the team with this game. That's an interesting choice of words. So, listening to that, it almost seems like they're going for a more cinematic experience. Hopefully that does not affect the actual gameplay of Devil May Cry. Kind of seems like we may be zooming in a little more closer to the character. It would help with immersion, not that far out camera view that they had in previous games. Going forward, level design and exploration is more similar to Bayonetta, with action set pieces thrown in there, but without the QTEs. QTEs in general do not exist in Devil May Cry 5, thus far, I apologize. So going back to that, the level design itself, not really sure what to make of it. So Bayonetta was kind of like a Devil May Cry game, rather linear, and you just kind of went forward, or the game directed you in a way that it was obvious where you needed to go. So when they say they're not entering the open world territory, I'm going to assume that maybe it could be a sandbox type of level where you are given a level and you kind of run through it and you go to different areas depending on what you're trying to accomplish, which is kind of weird because Devil May Cry 5 is about Devil May Cry has always been a game about progressing the story of Dante or whoever you're playing as. Open world in Devil May Cry 5 for a beat 'em up, hack and slash, however you want to call it. I'm not sure what that would look like. If you guys know of a game that has a similar idea, feel free to leave it down in the comments. I would love to check out what that would actually look like, or what it has looked like. There is no stamina bar. I don't remember Devil May Cry ever having a stamina bar. Not sure why that was mentioned. This is not a Musou game, but there will be encounters where you are facing more enemies than you are used to in a DMC game. That's pretty crazy because DMC throws a crap load of enemies at you, so not sure what that means. I guess we're going to be getting a lot more than what we're used to. There is some online integration, but definitely no multiplayer, player versus player. No big surprise there. I don't think I would want a multiplayer Devil May Cry. I'm not sure how that'll work, but I guess it doesn't hurt to have if they wanted to go that route, but no big surprise. The dodge system is reworked, and dodging in general is supposed to be a lot smoother than before. Get ready to hear the word smooth a lot when related to Devil May Cry 5. Dodging system is reworked. Dodging system wasn't bad in the games before. I guess I can't wait to see what that looks like. What does the dodging look like now? How does it work? Camera pull is back during big fights. The devs are really proud of the new, more dynamic camera system. Okay, so yeah, it kind of seems like they're going to go for a little more of a closer camera when you are just controlling Dante, I guess, running through the level without actually being in combat. And then when you go into combat, the camera pulls back, and I'm gonna guess that's the classic Devil May Cry, angle that we've seen previously, so that it retains that gameplay. Hopefully it doesn't go the route of God of War, and we are now playing an over-the-shoulder type, Last of Us experience with Dante. Animations are being improved to be less stiff. Big emphasis on cloth dynamics. Maybe Dante's sword might not clip through his jacket now. Battles are beautifully animated and smooth. So I think that's a step in the right direction. Maybe they took hints from that DMC game, although the game wasn't, the best Devil May Cry game that we had. I do want to say that it did have a smoothness to it that I think the previous Devil May Cry series could have learned from, and it seems like they did, so I'm happy to hear that. Mission and ranking systems, similar to previous DMC games in Bayonetta, there would definitely be mission chapter selects. Okay, so it's retaining a kind of level progression where it's, mission 1, mission 2, yada yada yada. And there is a ranking system, so the A, B, C, D, S rank type style combos, I assume, is what they're referring to, in the endgame ranking altogether for the level. Bosses being ramped up dramatically in Devil May Cry, one of the best fights moves between multiple eras of the game. Okay, so this once again goes back to maybe they're going for a little more cinematic, or maybe it's just different stages to a boss fight, which is pretty cool. I'm happy to hear that. It's a progression for the series. The style system is in for Dante. Enemies will react a bit differently to each style. I wonder why they focused on Dante for that. Does that mean that if we play as other characters, we won't get the style system? But, oh wait, never mind, I apologize. They're referring to Dante's different styles. Never mind, whoops, blunder. Okay, so that's not too much of a surprise. Hopefully it is on the fly once again. So I'm happy to hear that that's back, and the enemies react differently to each style. That's also cool. The enemies can identify the style that you're in, and then play it, or rather react accordingly. That's awesome. The style system has been streamlined to be smoother to use for the players. Speculated that the style system might be tuned reworked to make it easier to get into than in Devil May Cry 4. Okay, once again, it does seem like they're working on it to make it a smoother experience, and you just jump right in and out. Similar, I guess, to the DMC game. Once again, that was one of the cool things. You could just jump right into it with the press of a button rather than having to go into the menu or do anything, I don't want to say complicated, but more than you need to. Certain styles will have advantages on certain enemies, similar to DMC and DMC 3. You can use a single style on any enemy just fine. Okay, so that's cool. So they're pretty much saying that depending on an enemy, there could be weapons that are more hazardous to them, but the thing that I am happy about is that you can use any weapon to take on the enemy, or rather, I guess, style. So that's cool. They're not limiting the players. They're just giving you the ability to deal more damage if you want to, using particular styles dependent on the enemy that you're fighting. So that's once again something that they took from the DMC that was released. More environment interactivity than any previous DMC game. This is supposed to complement the combat system, not detract from it. More environment interactivity, not sure what that means. Maybe we'll be able to actually pick up weapons on the floor, or maybe knock enemies into, light posts or something. Not sure exactly what it means, but I am happy to see what they're talking about, and it sounds like something that would be awesome and make the combat a little more dynamic. There is some form of dynamic environment destruction transformation in play, but not on the scale of DMC thus far. Okay, that's cool. So in DMC, if you didn't know, the environment would change. Not sure how to explain it. When he's in limbo, and the environments would start to break and shift and just kind of warp altogether. Doesn't sound like they're going to be doing that, but it does seem like they're going to be experimenting with it in the new DMC 5. So that doesn't hurt. It didn't hurt the other game. I'm happy to hear that. Let's see how it turns out. While this is not an open world game, some inspirations have been taken from Dragon's Dogma. I'm not familiar with Dragon's Dogma. I think I may have seen a little bit of it. I think that was kind of like a Dark Souls game. Once again, forgive me if I'm completely wrong. But like I said, I'm not too sure how a Devil May Cry game would play in that sense. It's always been a mission-based game. I guess, like I said, it would be a sandbox level type thing, where, they throw you into a level, and from there, you do different things. But once again, that is a bit of a strange thing to do for Devil May Cry. But I can't say anything. I've never seen it done before. If you guys know anything or know any games that plays like with this idea, please feel free to drop a comment. I would love to check it out to see what that plays like. But that is the end of the leak. This was posted, like I said, on November 26th. I am happy to hear that a new Devil May Cry is in the works. We haven't had Devil May Cry since DMC, and once again, This is Devil May Cry, the original series that they're continuing. It is not a sequel to the DMC, the reboot. DMC was a reboot. So we haven't had original Devil May Cry in a very long time. And I am happy to hear that we're getting our favorite characters back. You know, the original Dante, Virgil, especially from DMC3. He was always a fan favorite. And then Nero. I always liked Nero. I felt like Nero had a lot of potential. And I'm happy that they're not just throwing him away, and especially expanding on him and his relationship with Virgil. And especially to see Virgil in that type of situation. I wonder how he's going to react. But that's it for today, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate the support. Go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you liked what you heard. If you want to keep up with my content, go ahead and hit the notification bell so whenever I do upload, it goes ahead and sends you a notification as soon as I do, and you can keep up with me at any given time. Comment down below what you think of the leak. Do you feel like the leak has any legitimacy to it? Are we going to see Son of Sparta permanently banned a year from now on Reset Era? Let me know what you think. Drop a comment, leave a like, subscribe. And until next time, guys,